I really like this image that's on screen right now with Himino and Denji having breakfast together, even though it was after the night of her getting incredibly drunk and making out with him and him being like, this is kind of gross. She's going to throw up in my mouth. Also, to let you guys know, as many of you are well aware, this is not your typical anime channel where you're going to see some fights or some other type of like cool stuff happening. This is more a channel of where you're going to learn something. You're going to be able to be able to communicate with women better, make more money, have a more well-rounded life around self-awareness, who you are, self-actualization, anything along those lines, so that you can enjoy a peaceful breakfast with your significant other. Obviously, or maybe not obviously, I myself am not in this position, but I have talked with a lot of other people, and it seems like a lot of us men, and maybe some women in general too as well, because I was talking with a friend of mine about this last night, we seem to want this type of relationship, yet in today's day and age, in today's society, it seems like this is a foreign concept. Like, it seems next to impossible for us just to go out, have breakfast, have a dinner, have a conversation without wanting some sort of agenda, which is something that I'm doing my best to change, because I have been in that situation beforehand to where I always just wanted to have the agenda. It's like, hey, I'm going out on a date with you. Okay, awesome. Now that I'm on a date with you, okay, now like, hey, like let's do some things. Like, let's have some fun. Let's make it to third base or even home base. I would only ever go to third base, and your first base, second base, third base, and home base may all be different. Home base I feel like is always the same, but it could be a little bit different depending on where you're at and the things that you're doing in your life. Whenever I would go out, this would always kind of be my intention, and it wasn't great. It wasn't fantastic, because like then I would just kind of like feel this lonely emptiness inside of myself, and it was something that I didn't want to have to feel any longer. So I tried to figure out different ways to do it, because I was talking, as I said just a moment ago, with this friend of mine that she's actually fantastic. She's great. I don't know why, but like she just has this different type of energy around her, which is fantastic. And I let her know, I was like, yeah, there were just times when I was only just ever trying to do that one thing and get it wet. And she's like, yeah, I get it. Like, that's just kind of how it is. Whereas now I'm like, I'd much rather be in a place or a position to where I am more being intellectually stimulated. And if I'm not being intellectually stimulated, then I don't necessarily see the point in me doing really anything at all at that point. Because like, if I can't just sit down and have a conversation with her, then what's the point? And maybe you're at the place in your life, or maybe you already have figured out how to have a conversation. Maybe that's something that you're already like working towards, which if that is the case, awesome. I appreciate it, and that's wonderful for you. Like, truly, genuinely. I have been having to go through a lot of different aspects within my own self, because maybe you're also like me too, where like you didn't grow up having the role models of like how to do something like this, or if you did do something like this, then you would kind of be ashamed or guilted or something along those lines, or you'd be called names for names that you yourself weren't, and then you'd get made fun of. And then it's like, well, this isn't me. Like, I'm just trying to have a connection with this person to see if I like them, to see if I'd want to have like kids with them or something like that. And then I'm getting shamed or guilted for having this opposite sex person over. It's a very interesting concept, and it's kind of messed up with how like these things in our past will dictate our future, even though our past is ever changing and we can go back and change it within our own minds. So that's why I have been being more open and receptive to having these deeper conversations. And the best way that I've found that maybe this will help you out as well too is like, just be curious, just ask questions, like be willing to listen, be willing to share when you need to share. Like, don't always be the one that's speaking. Or if you are the person that always is speaking, be the person that's always speaking. But like, you just have to remember that if that's you, you might not necessarily build the type of relationship that you're wanting to build. And then there's also going to be other type of women that do come into your life that are going to be very short, that aren't going to be like the most engaging, which is perfectly okay as well too, because as I brought up to her the other night when I was talking with her before I left, I was like, yeah, there's some girls, because like I go to the gym all the time. Like my gym, I go there 5 days a week, and then I go to the mountains on one of the other days out of the week as well too. And then I'm like making these videos for each and every single one of you, which is fantastic, and I love it. And if you're new to the channel, then you can click subscribe, completely free, click of a button. And by having this conversation with her, I was letting her know, she's like, some of these women out here they're like wearing crop tops, or like they're just like they're hoeing around. And I'm like, yeah, I completely understand. Like my old self would always be like, yeah, I just want to go out and like I have no problem. Like I'd check it out, maybe I'll say a hello or something like that. And this is where I'm kind of like shifting and changing things a little bit as well too, because yeah, they're fantastic and it's great to look at and have the conversations. But sometimes when I have had conversations with these women, it is very surface level. It's not as deep as the conversation that I was having with her. And obviously I wasn't trying to get with her or anything like that. I was just having like a conversation because I just liked her energy. I liked her vibe. I liked how she was. It was great. It was fantastic. And I was like, see, this is the type of woman where like she's just able to talk and communicate. And it's not like me having to pull teeth and then I can speak when I need to speak, because a lot of the times for me, like this is my way of being able to communicate in a different way than I would have been doing originally. Whereas for some other people, that might not necessarily be the case. This may be their way of like listening or observing. And I've always been somebody like when I am talking with somebody in person, I don't necessarily like, it's weird. It's interesting. So like I've talked about this on a couple of different videos, but basically I am a mirror reflection of you yourself. So like when I share this said thing to this person in like the actual, like not on a video or something like that, I'm just reflecting back to them what they have given to me. Whereas like when I'm on a video, it's me expressing my own thoughts. It's interesting, but it's also like, it's for you as well too. It's a little bit confusing. It takes some time to understand, but I do my best to describe it in the ways that I know how to describe it in. So that's why when I say like some women, like they look great. Like there's this one that I was talking with yesterday, and this is going to sound a little bit weird to you, but like I was leaving the gym and I was just like, hey, I know this is going to be like a weird question, and I also don't have to preface it that way, but I like prefacing it that way just to kind of like break the tension in a sense. It's kind of like in the interview, and I'm going to get back to the thing that I was just talking about, but like I had an interview the other day as well too, and I was just like wearing like a normal t-shirt, and the first thing that I did when I opened was just like, hey, I apologize for not like having a suit on or anything like that. Like, I don't know how this works now, like with having Zoom. Like, are we still supposed to dress up? Are we not supposed to dress up? Like, what's the thing? And him and I, we went into this whole thing. He's like, no, I get it. I understand. And like, there's this concept. It kind of like is about like not being all put together, but like you are put together. It's weird. It's a way to like have people kind of underestimate you, and then you come swinging out of the gate and it's like, oh, wow, this person was not what I expected him to be. Which if you want to know how to do a little bit more of that as well too, you can book a free coaching call down in the description down below. 30 minutes, see if we jive. If not, like no worries, but I just figure like if I can help you out, might as well be able to help you out, because then you can start to have deeper conversations. Because the woman that I was talking with that I said just a moment ago, like her and I, we were able to have deep conversations, whereas like the other girl that I was talking about the other day, when I was just like, hey, super weird question, I know this is going to sound a bit strange, but like, how long do you cook a potato? Like, that was the question that I asked. And you might be like, dude, that's really weird and strange. I'm like, yeah, it is, but I have every right to say these types of questions because that's kind of the way that I do, and that's the type of open that I have. And this was one of these women that I've seen in the gym a couple of times, and she looks fantastic. Like, she looks really, really good. I've seen her several times. She just got some work done. I don't know if she just got some work done, but she's had some work done. And sometimes the things that she wears, like I don't know how her mind is, because like when I did try to have that one brief conversation with her, it was very, and obviously she was with a friend and maybe it was a little bit different, but like, and maybe she's seen some, I don't know. Like, there's multiple different factors that come into this, but I was like, let me just open it and see what happens and see if there's any type of conversation that can be had. But like, it was just me asking question after question after question. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, sometimes that's great. Sometimes that's what you have to do with certain people. Sometimes you can also have just like an open dialogue, because sometimes people do know how to communicate. Sometimes people are willing to have that conversation. Like I was talking about the other girl that her and I, we were chatting for like 3 or 4 hours or something like that. Okay, maybe not 3 or 4, like an hour and a half, 2 hours or something like that after I was leaving the gym. And sure, you could be like, well, she's one of the employees. But it's also like, I've had conversations like this with other people, where then I've also had other conversations where it's like me having to pull teeth. So like, I'd rather have a conversation with like my future wife, girlfriend, whatever it may be. And obviously it's going to have to go from like friend, girlfriend to wife, I would say. I feel like that's how that works, by having like being able to just like sit outside, have some breakfast, like just have a genuine conversation, not have to like be worried about like, oh, I just want to get this wet or have this experience with you. Like, don't get me wrong, like that's part of it. But like, if I can't be stimulated by her and have a genuine conversation and actually go into the depths, like what's the point? And maybe you're in that exact same place. Maybe you've just been like trying to go out and you've been trying to do these things, or maybe you've never even been on a date. Because like the last time that I've gone on a couple of different dates as well too, but like it's very surface level and it's not very deep in the ways that I want it to. And it seems to always be the case because like I'm doing like online dating, whereas I've talked to some other friends of mine too, and we talk about that a little bit, where it's just like, dude, dating nowadays is like, it's incredibly difficult. It's like, it seems like all these women are OF models, or they're just sending nudes. Like, dude, I matched with this one woman on one of the apps, and she's like, yeah, I send photos over to like men that like ask, that like want me to send them to them over Snapchat for a payment. And I'm like, that, like, what is this world coming to, bro? Like, it's just kind of sad. And I understand that there are still real women out there that are able to have these more deep conversations, and it's great. It's fantastic. It just seems like they're very far and few between, or they're already married or something like that. Or they're just like getting out on their own, or somebody had hurt them in one point in time. So then it's like now you have to break down those barriers, but you don't want to break down the barriers. You just want to like offer the help and the assistance in the ways that you can, so that then you can have the conversation. So if it does lead to something cool, if not, like, no worries. But it's about having like zero agenda when you do have these conversations, when you are listening to these people, when you are having like genuine intellectual conversations, because like that's the thing that I want. And there's not really one right way to do it, other than just like putting yourself in those situations to have more conversations, if that is something that you are wanting to have, if you're going to have a relationship, or even just like have a woman that you can talk to, kind of like Denji and Hanama. I hope I said her name right. If you want to have something like that, then it's a numbers game. As sad as that may sound, like, it is a numbers game, because like with a couple of the interviews that I've done, because I'm looking for work, and if you know anybody that has work, but that's why I'm doing the coaching stuff, is because that's my way to be able to like continue to make these videos and like share my wisdom and my different perspective and things along those lines, so that you can improve, and I can also be of service to you, because that's my whole goal. And I mean, you can keep listening to these videos too, and if they're inspiring you, awesome. Because it's a numbers game when it comes down to this, because there's a lot of women that I've talked with. There's a lot of people that I've talked with, men and women alike, where sometimes it's a very deep, intellectual, like philosophical, like meaningful conversation. Then there's other conversations where it's just very short and succinct, and like there's just not much depth to it. And that's okay, because some people are more willing and receptive to having these deeper conversations, are willing to open up, because maybe there's some aspect of myself that I share with them, or that I am present with them, that they're willing to share with me just because they want to share it with me. And I'm like, hey, that's cool, because I've had multiple times, and I don't say that this is things that you yourself have to do, but I'll hear some of the most amazing, miraculous things. And I enjoy, I wouldn't say I revel in it, but I do really, I kind of do a little bit. It's fun. Like it's fascinating to me how people open up to me in these most amazing ways. And that's where I say, like, I have this gift, I have this ability to just like hopefully help you open up in ways that like other people aren't letting you open up in, because I'm here for you. I'm here to ask you the right questions. I'm here just to listen. Like, if you just need somebody to vent about something, then by all means, like, we can just sit on the screen and I'll just listen to you for half an hour or 45 minutes, I guess I should say, about whatever it is that you have going on. If you need me to talk, like, I'll talk. If you're just looking for somebody to communicate with, like, I got you. Like, that's my whole thing. That's I would say shtick, but it's not really a shtick. It's my way of just giving back, because I'm here for you as much as you're here for me. And this is the ways that I know how it can work. And if you're listening to this point in the video, maybe this is something that you can at least just check out. Not saying you have to, but if it's a numbers game, like I said. So like if you are having poor conversations, start to have more conversations. Start to go out and just like say hello, or a simple wave, or a simple, hey, do you want to grab breakfast? Like, if that's too much even too, like, just do what I did earlier too. Like, hey, how long do you cook a potato? Like, it's a weird random question, but like if somebody else knows, and like you could Google it. And to me, when I ask people, I'm like, this is me Googling it. Like, this is me asking and trying my best to maintain like real human connections with people, because a lot of the times we seem to discredit or not want to have these actual human conversations any longer, because we have this computer in our pocket that does all the things that we want them to do. So it's just like, why do we have to talk to somebody else if I can just ask my phone, if I can just ask Siri? To me, where I'm like, I would rather keep those human conversations alive and thriving, even if it means that I look like a weirdo, or I look like the strange person that's like talking to people all the time. But I love it, dude. Like, it's fantastic. I get to learn so much. I get to hear different experiences. I get to share like in these moments with these other people, and then I can relay them back to you, so that hopefully maybe you can realize that like, hey, just because this one person said no to me, or this one person gave me a cold shoulder, doesn't mean that the next person will. Doesn't mean that this other person isn't going to be the one that becomes my wife, or becomes my best friend, or becomes my business partner, or whatever it may be. Like, you don't know that if you just give up after that first go. So my whole thing is like, if you want to have a strong relationship, if you just want to have somebody that you can communicate with, it's about going out and trying each and every single day, regardless of what the outcome was yesterday, because you never know what's going to happen. And there's this concept, and we'll wrap up the video right about here, because try to keep it around like 14, 15 minutes or so, well, 13, 14 minutes or so. There's this concept where a lot of people, not everybody, but some people will tell you that like, it was this idea, this thought that I had last night. So like in the Bible, there's this saying where it's just like, ask and you shall receive. There's this other saying, I can't remember the exact line, but it's like, dig the moats or the trenches before the rainfall comes. But then there's other people that are like, well, you have to like have like the rain before you build the trenches and everything like that. And both of those, like, they contradict themselves. If you think about it, like, one is saying that you have to have it first, where the other one is saying you have to have the other one first. So which one is more important? Because like for this, I can be like, I'm just building and digging the trenches until somebody comes along. It's like, wow, hey, I like this. This is great. Like, I'll resonate with this a lot. And now I'm going to watch every single one of these videos. And you have so many of them. So, like, this is going to take me some time. And I'm grateful for you doing this. So that's kind of my thing. And you can also see, like, the evolution of myself over the years, because a lot of us do change. We do evolve. We do acquire new information. At least that's my hope. And that's why, like, what I do is, like, hopefully inspiring you to go, like, do different things. And if you learn something from it, cool. If you're inspired by it, cool. If you want to do the coaching, cool. Like, whatever you want out of this channel, out of this content, like, just let me know. I can always tailor certain videos or aspects if it's to an anime or a series that I myself have watched that I can kind of relay some sort of story to. I haven't watched a lot. I have watched a lot, but I haven't maybe watched certain ones, because there was one a while back, which I don't know if you're still watching these videos at all or not. If you are, I appreciate it. I tried watching that one anime that you told me about a while ago, and dude, it wasn't for me. It wasn't in my vicinity. It wasn't in my resignation. It wasn't in my, like, my awareness. Like, that just wasn't my type of show. And I've talked about that in a couple of other videos. If you want me to dive deeper into that, more than welcome to on a different video. But yeah, with that being said, I just want you guys to know is, like, you can have these deep conversations. Sometimes they're going to be short. Sometimes they're going to be shallow. But then there's going to be those other ones where you run into the right people. And all of a sudden, when you run into the right people, the conversations are just going to flow effortlessly. If that is something that you are wanting, then maybe the conversation that you have with some random person that you met on the street or on a hike or at the gym or whatever it is, maybe she'll become your best friend. And then maybe she'll become your girlfriend. And then maybe she'll become your wife. It's just a matter of putting yourself out there. And the more you do that, the better you're going to become.